This WiLLcast was with the Birschbach sisters, who are part of a local family business here, I believe in the Fond du Lac County, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, all part of Fond du Lac County area.
Cool. And they're in farming and kind of farming supply, and the names of they have two businesses that they
Yes.
operate.
So Whitney works with Agromatic, which is focused on keeping cows happy, I think was how she put it. And a lot of that like barn environment type. I know they talk a lot about mats and there's some other stuff like that. So she's focused on that side of the family business. And that is the longer standing of the two arms, I guess we could call it. And then her sister, Kelsey, helps run Davis Plastic, which is a newer acquisition from what I understand. I want to say within the past year. And that's focused on equine, so horse stuff. And the best example is the plastic booty cups that go over to protect the hoof.
Mm-hmm.
So it's injection molded plastic.
Yes.
So that's Davis Plastic.
Yes. Yeah, I thought it was interesting, having grown up in farm country, just to peel back the onion a little bit and learn about all the businesses or examples of two businesses that help support everything in the area. The family business perspective was super interesting. Both of them, I believed, went to school and worked elsewhere for a little while, and then came back and joined the family business. But yeah, it's cool to see some of that next generation energy kind of pushing things forward in their world.
It was also fun to hear them talk about, just because obviously Will has a lot of different customer bases and we work with a lot of different types of markets and applications, but listening to them talk about, I remember I briefly touched on the idea that they came from this very strong agriculture background in working with cattle and dairy cattle, and how that's very much livestock. And then you get into the equine market more recently, and that's much more pet driven or pet similar. It's a very different mindset. So understanding those different markets, because to the average person, they probably seem really similar, but it's definitely niche and it requires a different approach.
Yeah, one's luxury and one's a necessity.
Yes.
But both have similar needs.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it was fun too. Like you said, the family business perspective, seeing the cross section here with agriculture and manufacturing, how it's overlapping, huge parts of the Fond du Lac economy,
yes.
Arguably probably the two largest
absolutely
factors in the Fond du Lac economy.
And Becca, this WiLLcast is brought to you by, take your pick. Should we do the Ledge Game since we just had the Ledge Game?
Let's do Ledge
All
Games.
Right. So, and you can still go to ledgegames.com and make a donation.
Absolutely. You can sign up for next year.
Sign up for next year. Get a head start. But it was a great event. Weather was great. Had a lot of new sponsors and partners this year. Some new volunteers. But it was a lot of fun. And we had a Will team member who won the men's division, and then a Will family member.
I was going to say Will team member Jason won the
female.
Yeah, it was just coming from an organizer perspective. It was a really great event. We were really happy with how it turned out. Tons of new people out there competing. So fun to see new faces, volunteering, competing, spectating. Really grateful for the community and the manufacturing community support. And we'll see you all next year, September 30th.
On the calendar already?
On the calendar, last Saturday in September, which is the 30th.
Cool.
Believe it or not. We'll see you at Red Cabin.
Yeah, go to ledgegames.com, sign up, donate, sign up to volunteer already. But yeah, like Becca said, we'll see you in a year.
See you in a year.
Enjoy the winter. So you guys live in the area?
Yes.
Yeah?
We were born and raised in Lamartine.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
But
I live in town now, and she lives out on the family farm.
Okay.
Yep,
cool.
Right in Rosendale area.
So what do you guys do?
At our jobs or for fun?
Both.
All the above.
I'm at sales at Agromatic
that
our father owns.
Nice.
I've been there for about 5 years now. Before that, I worked at Ferguson Enterprise. So I did inside sales, residential plumbing. And then, I joined the family business 5 years ago.
Nice.
And I'm in outside sales now, but I do family business. You don't have one position. You kind of help.
You wear a lot of hats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we know that.
And I was going to say, Adams has no idea what that's like.
Definitely been there, and I'm still there. Ferguson, is that down in Milwaukee area?
They have locations all over the U.S.
Okay.
And in Wisconsin here, we have a bunch. I was at Wausau and I was at Green Bay.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure we bought a bunch of plumbing fixtures for our previous house at Ferguson.
Probably, yep.
Nice.
Yep.
So overview of what you guys do. I know we were talking before. It's really a lot of different stuff. Everything from kind of general contracting and project management for farmers to lighting and even some science. Science on the lighting side. But what's kind of the overview of the solutions for the farming community?
Essentially everything inside the dairy barn minus the milking equipment.
Okay.
We handle it all. It's just cow comfort products. That's everything we do. The more flexible freestall versus steel stall. It's going to prevent less lesions on the cow.
Yep.
With rubber flooring, because cows should always be walking on rubber. Because concrete, obviously, we're going to have bad hoof problems. So then you have down cows on your farm.
Yep.
Ventilation, keeping them cool. You never want a cow that's hot. And then, like the headlocks, we do that. We have this new system. When you walk down a barn, you have that steel bar where they're eating their feed.
Yeah.
We do a flexible pipe there so that they're never hitting a steel bar. It's called a free feed system.
So are you you're doing some of the manufacturing as well?
Yeah.
Like the welding and the machining and the
steel
the steel.
components.
Okay.
We are doing, but we're also importing quite a
Sure.
bit of products too.
So it's kind of a hybrid manufacturing and distribution and
Yep.
having those relationships with the farmers and kind of having a one-stop solution for everything inside the barn.
Yep. And then you're going to see everyone in the field right now comes silage season. So
Yep.
we do manufacture our own silage packer
Okay.
and a flat floor parlor. That's something not anyone's putting in nowadays, but that's something we still manufacture that we have for over 50, 60 years.
Okay.
So
Do you ever run into it that you have to continue to supply or manufacture, like you said, like I don't want to say outdated equipment, but more antiquated because you have customers who need the replacement parts or things like that? Does that get a little tricky?
it does, yeah. That's where inventory becomes a little bit of chaos.
Yeah.
But yeah, we try to implement what we can and adjust to what we see kind of changing in the future.
Because there's farming. There's a variety of sophistication of operations, and you have some farms around here that are still multi-generational small family farms, and you have huge operations south of town. So I'm sure the skills that they have and the knowledge they have on site varies greatly.
Yep. And then a lot of people think, oh, they have a small farm. They're not really successful. Some of those 120 head
Oh, I'm sure.
farms are just as successful as that 5,000
Yep.
head.
That's great.
Yeah.
And what do you do?
So I am the manager, kind of all hats at Davis Plastic over
Okay.
in Brandon. We focus mainly on horse products.
Okay.
We do dip molding, slush molding, all based off of a heavy-duty PVC plastic. So I think it started back in 1987. And in January, our dad, Dean, purchased it.
Nice.
So we have been...
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. That's kind of been my...
Cows and horses.
Yeah, that's kind of been my
awesome.
baby
Nice.
since January. We are expanding, or trying to expand. We do all the manufacturing in-house. So we have dipping equipment to ovens. We have a whole line of sewers that sew all of our products right in-house. We kind of base it off of fully made in the United States.
Nice.
So it's...
Speaking our language.
Yeah, we try to leverage that over our competitors,
Yep.
I would say, because not many people can say that.
And in that world, really every product has to be different, right? It's specifically molded for an animal.
Yep.
So it lends itself to local manufacturing.
Right.
So I'm a manufacturing geek. What does the molding process look like? So the horse steps inside. Is it like some type of foam or some type of gel, and then it hardens?
It's a liquid.
It's a liquid. Okay.
Yeah, which this time last year I had no idea what it was even entailed. Like, so it starts as a liquid.
Yep.
And then it's the molds that we use are kind of the shape of not the shape of a hoof, but close.
Yep.
So then it's dipped in to that liquid plastic.
Okay.
With a hot mold. So they're like 400 degrees. So they're dipped in there for a certain amount of time. and then they're taken out and they're cooked in another oven for a certain amount of time.
And you guys do a bunch of this right on
All of it.
site.
All
Nice.
of it, yep. The only thing we don't do is we don't make our own molds. So obviously you have to send that up to a foundry.
Yep.
But yeah, it's quite the process.
Have you used scanners at all? Like
No.
to scan the hoof instead of using a molding process?
Mm-mm.
That'd be one interesting thing to look at. You could scan it and then it would automatically create a CAD file.
Oh yeah.
And then you could send that CAD file to the foundry and have the mold made. But that's super interesting.
Yeah,
So-
and I mean obviously these molds were made probably 25, 30 years ago. So it's just what we were given.
Yep.
But probably within the last 4 months, we've expanded to custom projects with our plastisol.
Awesome.
So we have a different customer base, I would
Yep.
say. It's not just equine. It's not just horse people. It's like construction and safety boots.
Yep.
Because plastisol is like the same material as rain boots.
Yep.
Or like we get our traffic cones. That's the same material.
Yeah, there's a lot of different uses for that.
Right. And it's a niche market.
Yep.
I would say, because not many people can do it. And we're set up for it, and that's also like a leverage point for us.
Yep. So for people that are not from Wisconsin, which is about 98% of the people we work with on a day-to-day basis, only about 2% of our lighting sales and solutions is actually, they're done in the state. 90% is outside of the state. And if you were to describe southeastern Wisconsin to people and the farming community and agriculture and builders and handy, these different handy skill sets, like what does that look like to an outsider? I think we kind of take it for granted. Like I grew up around here as well, and you kind of you assume that all areas are like this. But it's always interesting to me how handy and skillful people are at these different things. Like, how would you guys describe that to people outside of the state?
I guess I would say it's our culture. We're used to that.
Yeah.
But I do go out west, and it's completely different.
Yeah.
All those cows are outside, and all these cows are inside, and even we call it the parlor, and where their cows are getting milk, they call that the barn. Or wherever. And it's not your red barn stereotype nowadays. You're seeing a lot of black and blues and whatever light's coming through better. And
So why are barns red in Wisconsin? No idea.
It's just always been red.
I wish I had that
Somebody
answer.
picked a color initially.
Hold on,
and-
I'll Google it. Continue, but
I think I don't know what the best explanation is. Obviously, people have their idea of cheese and beer.
That's true. That's where it starts for sure. And cold weather,
Yeah.
snow.
But if I could explain it best, it'd probably be it's just like one big family.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows everybody, or at least you know somebody who knows them.
Yep.
And I mean, being a Birschbach, that's kind of how we were raised.
Yep.
But
Well, I think people forget that Wisconsin has like the most counties in our state that are dairy. And that's like we rank, there's top 25 in the U.S. We have 7 or 8 counties on that list for dairy.
Yep.
So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's such a huge part of the economy, and then from there, you have all the food processing companies. Grande Cheese, Baker Cheese was just bought by Sargento. Then you have all the contractors that are there to support all of that, and then you have there's a lot of overlap with manufacturing, even non-food or non-dairy manufacturing in the automation systems, and just that kind of that really just that skill base is really interesting. As I got older and I started to do some more traveling, you go to other areas, and it's just people aren't used to having to do stuff like that. Look at all the machinery on a farm. A farmer traditionally is they're taking care of cows, they're planting crops, they're harvesting crops, they're also designing equipment, they're maintaining equipment, they're fixing equipment, and it's just the range of skill sets required are super interesting, and it's interesting to see generation after generation how much of that gets passed along.
For sure.
Yeah.
Farm kids are always the hard work.
The hardest work, absolutely.
You are
The early-
Adam loves farm kids. He said he can always tell when someone comes from a construction family or a
Very
farming
true.
family, and that's what he looks for.
Or wrestlers.
Yes, I'm
Res-
sorry, wrestlers.
Well, construction too. Wrestlers, farmers, and construction families. It's
Well,
just-
you know just by their handshake.
That's true. That's very true. We had yesterday. We had a few people on our engineering team down in Chicago for a trade show, and had to meet early here. One car met early here, and we had a bet on who was going to be here the earliest, and it was the two farmers. The two farmers in the group, Cole and Kevin.
Well, I was going to say Tyler was not the
No,
early
Tyler-
one.
No, Tyler was not the early one.
Not that he's lazy. He's just not a morning person.
Yes, for sure.
I need to hedge my bets in case Boss listens to this episode.
That's funny.
Oh, I have the answer for why are barns red. So back in the day, they used linseed oil apparently to seal them,
Oh, really?
which naturally goes a little bit that direction, the color. And then there are two theories. One is the rich farmers would add blood from the recent slaughter.
Really?
I think
Ooh,
that's probably
jeez.
some sort of
That just got gross.
That's making full use of the animal, I guess.
yeah. I'm thinking it's some sort of
PETA would not be happy.
maybe it's superstitious or something. The other thing they said is that they add rust because rust is poisonous to most fungi. So if you put that into this linseed oil when you go to seal your barns, it would prevent decay and things like that to the barn,
Yep.
which would also give it, historically, it was more of a burnt orange to red color. So
That's super interesting.
the
Look at
more
you learning
you
something
know.
Thank you, Google.
My name's Becca. But Google works.
Yeah, I've referenced it a couple times, but I'm reading the book. It's called Iron Fist. It's about Carl Kiekhaefer, the guy that started Mercury Marine, and he came from a farming family, and I think it was his parents moved here from Germany. They settled in Cedarburg, and hit the first 18 years of his life between the age of 5 and the age of 18. He was working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week as a 5-year-old, as an 18-year-old. And it's interesting reading the book because, back in that day, a lot of the farm equipment, the machinery was completely exposed. You could see, what a tractor or any type of equipment, all the gears, all the hydraulic systems, everything was pretty much out in the open. And he learned a lot of his engineering and his machining and his manufacturing skills just by having to, seeing that and fixing it. And it was just very fascinating reading the book about the area, and you can just see how somebody progresses into manufacturing from that. So.
Yep. Seeing all the gears and now sitting in a little cab with AC.
That's the thing too, is how sophisticated equipment has gotten.
Yep.
When did that start?
I don't know, because when I was in middle school, that's when our grandpa sold his cows. We were still sitting out on the tractor. Could have easily just fell off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's interesting you say that because when I, wherever I drive, I live in Eden, so you're in the middle of farm fields, but it's only ever, I'm stereotyping, the old guys that still sit a lot that you see in the open cab tractors, stuff they're diehards. That equipment's probably way older than I am. That's their go-to. They're the last one standing kind of thing.
Well, they're usually stuck in their ways.
I was going to say, I wasn't going to say it. But
Stubborn.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that come to our trade show and tell us what we're doing wrong.
It's funny how
No
that
comment.
works. What is the mix of multi-generational family farms versus corporate farms look like in southeastern Wisconsin?
I feel like they can be pretty similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 50-50, or is it headed in the direction of more corporately owned operations?
It is.
Yeah.
Yep. We have the same number of cows. It's just the smaller ones are kind of getting bought out by the bigger ones. So they're just going to the guy next door.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the next 5 years here we'll see quite a difference in the bigger ones taking over.
And you were saying there are ways for the 1 to 200 cow farms to succeed. What are some of the things that they do different than maybe the ones that aren't as successful?
Well, all farmers have their own way.
Yeah.
But just kind of finding what fits for them and continuing that practice.
Yeah.
Otherwise, then you'll get a next generation in that wants to change everything. But I actually had this conversation with one of my customers the other day, is the ones coming in that want to change everything aren't necessarily paying attention to what's already in place. So they'll pay for, let's put the new thing in versus the cost of fixing it.
Yep.
And starting to see some of those generations go out of business just because not a smart business move of just buy versus what can we maintain and what's more important to fix at this time.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at like I said, a manufacturing trade show yesterday, and just every piece of manufacturing equipment you can possibly imagine. Very expensive equipment, and you can just see how you can really get over your skis when investing in some of that stuff. And then once you do it, if you make this big investment, go into a bunch of debt potentially, you kind of feel compelled to make it work, even if it maybe wasn't the right decision. So it's probably good to have that multi-generational kind of push and pull where you want those new ideas, but it's like, let's not completely reinvent the wheel.
Right. Throw the pros and the cons out there right away.
For sure.
When Sadie was here, Sadie from Envision, she was discussing, I think it was out in Brandon, a farm. What was it? Was it for Breakfast on the Farm? That they are under 200 head of cattle, but they've been updating with new technology and things like that, and it's working for them, which kind of, we were a little, not surprised, but it was nice to hear about a smaller operation that's investing in the latest technology, and it's very successful for them. Because I think people, I don't know, I think there's a little bit of a thought now that if you aren't a corporate farm or if you're not looking to become one, you're not going to be sustainable in the long run.
Right. Yep, that would be my grandpa's best friend. That was his son, that farm.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Small.
What
world.
exactly, do you know what exactly they did?
They have 2 Lely robots. So that's the milking equipment. Yep. So there's all sorts of different kinds of milking equipment. There's Lely, there's DeLaval, there's Agromatic, there's all those guys, and they're all mostly from Europe. There's a couple from the U.S., but it's mostly Europe. And we have a lot of dealers that put in those and install those robots.
So what does that type of robotic system or automation system look like? Like, what are the components of the system, or what's the process?
It's a huge, like, stall size for a Holstein to kind of walk in, and it kind of pushes them so they know. And then when they get in there, there's a little feed, little enticement to get in there. So some get a little greedy and go in too much. That's why. If like the robot will see and they'll know if like, oh, this cow is just in here and she's coming in for a snack, like, and it will not set her up to be milked because it's not, and not give her more food either. And then it's got a screen in there that kind of tells you all about that cow because she's wearing a tag, and it says the last time she was milked, what her output was. It can even, if she's being checked for medications or she's on whatever, it can see all that. And yeah, it's like a little component room inside the barn that you kind of walk in, and usually those rooms are dark, so you can see and then not disrupt the cow either while she's being milked. You should keep it a nice, quiet place too.
So, like a 200 cow farm, how many people like are operating that farm to milk 200 cows a day? Like, once they have an automated system like that, how many
mostly
workers?
focusing on being in their fields. They're not.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not too worried about being in their barn. They probably go in there once a day.
Yeah.
To check, and unless there's things that were a priority, to check on. But
Yeah, once you get the cows acclimated to going
just
in there.
kind of runs itself.
Yeah.
yeah, everyone thinks cows are scared of it, but cows are really smart. They
Yeah.
they get it
They know
down
where the
pat
food
pretty
is?
quick. Yep.
Well, like any farmer I talk to right now, one of their biggest problems is finding people to milk their cows.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, the field work and stuff, that's a little different, but I mean, you walk into any local watering hole in Eden, or you go to
Get some fun stories.
go to the cafe, and like the guys that's everyone I talk to. It's, do you know someone? They're always looking for high school age kids to come and milk cows. And I mean, when you look at it that way, that overhead cost also, if you're eliminating all that manpower, that's huge right from the get-go.
And will your company, you guys do the maintenance on that?
No,
or you
our customers do.
Your customers do.
Yep,
Okay.
because we normally go through a dealer distribution.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's why I know so much about it.
Nice.
But we don't actually supply.
Okay.
But that's importing. We sell a lot of things from Europe as well.
Okay. So what's why aren't there any U.S. manufacturers in that space? Why is it so big in Europe? Just the way it is.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Most of those companies come from Europe.
Yep.
But everyone wants American made.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys familiar with like the A2 versus A1 gene on cows?
The milk.
The milk?
Not too familiar.
Not too
no.
familiar.
I just know that A2 is pretty good for you.
Yeah.
For your body.
Yep. Yeah, that's an interesting market too, with the organic versus the non-organic, and then you have the A1 or A2 genes in the different different cows, and also just how some of the farmers here in Fond du Lac County or in southeast Wisconsin have embraced some of the organic stuff, or somebody that they did a long time ago, and what directions their business has gone, and how many organic farms are there around here? There are quite a few.
I honestly do
Really?
not know.
I know there's one. Tyler knows one in Dotyville.
I know multiple.
You do? Okay.
Yep. There's some and I think it's just like their longevity play. I know it takes, what is it? I think it's 7 years.
Yeah, and that's where I think that's what limits a lot of it, is because essentially if you stopped operating as a non-organic farmer now, you're right, 7 years from now you could sell your first gallon of organic milk.
Yes. And so I know a couple of family farms, and I think that's their way of sustaining a smaller herd.
Yeah.
Just because it's a niche
higher
market.
Margin.
And you I think I imagine the holdup for a lot of other farmers would be the idea that you have to let your fields go organic, so that's a transition. Yep. And then also I think all cow feed, and how you handle the cows, I think also, I'm not sure what the timeline is on that, but yeah, the two that I know, they're not huge operations. Yep. They're just highly successful at what they do because it is such a niche market.
Yep.
And then I know another family.
You know a lot.
You
must live in Eden, Becca.
Can't work it. My brother works for a major dairy farmer in Eden, and he dabbled in the organic. He dabbled in the organic scene for a little bit, but
cool.
I used to milk the organic cows. Back in the day.
Different than the non-organic cows?
No, it was just they were all still in stanchions, so it wasn't always the most fun. But yeah, because I think they only had like 80 head, so it wasn't. Yep. I mean, even looking at a parlor might not have been the most viable option for them because it didn't take all that long. But cows are mean; they can be nasty old cusses.
You don't want to get kicked by a cow.
No. Well, my brother also had this habit of when they would pull their tails up, I would get shoved in that direction.
The whips.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Do you have horses?
No.
No horses?
No.
Seems like you should have horses.
She's thinking horse people are crazy. That's like the thought going through her head right now.
That is true.
She can't say that, but
I can't. I don't know. I've never felt the need to get a horse.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I deal with not horses, but horse people.
Yep.
Which is hard because I'm used to the agriculture side or the dairy side. And I don't know if this is a politically correct way of saying it, but cows are a number and horses are a pet.
Yeah.
It's just completely different.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of farmers around here say, why would you give perfectly good feed to a horse? Or why would you waste it on a horse?
Right.
It's just, like you said, it just depends on where you come from.
There's a lot of money in the horse market. I mean, you have the multi-million-dollar stables, and then you have the people who just have horses because they want them.
I bet we get several riding arena lighting requests per year or per week from across the country for horse riding arenas. Like, we do lighting projects all the time for private arenas.
That's what always gets me. It's like these are everywhere. Private arenas, and comparatively even to like a backyard basketball court or something, the investment is significantly higher. But hey, if that's what you're into,
Yep. I know there's some huge operations down in like the Germantown area, like big horse stables and riding arenas and things like that.
Yeah. I actually went to college down there in
nice.
Mequon.
Okay.
So I know somebody who has a riding place down there, and I mean, it seems to be attracts a lot of people.
Right on Mequon Road?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I used to live over there.
Yeah.
Just in the Germantown area.
Yep.
Nice.
That had to be an interesting transition when you guys took on the Davis Plastic. because we have a lot of different customer types here, and how you communicate with them can be very different. So I'm sitting here like thinking like, oh, like you're right. Like cows are a number, like you're talking about efficiency and improving milk production. And like, that's where comfort comes into it. I mean, obviously you want to treat your animals well, but then you go to horses and it's a completely different approach.
Yeah.
It is. And I mean, obviously we're learning every day. But I think, I mean, we sell a lot of our products to distributors.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're trying to get more towards direct to consumer, but a lot of ours are through like the big box stores. So we have lately had more customer interaction, but when we first came on, I would say there was not as much.
Yeah, we have a couple channels to market too. We have direct channels, we have channels through distribution, and both are super important to have. But it is nice when you have a direct line of communication to your customers, and each channel can kind of learn from each other. It's like if you guys have direct customers, then you can help train your distributors better, and then if you have indirect, customers, you can tap into that local sales network wherever you're selling to. So that's fun. Do you guys enjoy like the business strategy side of it and the kind of the marketing side of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We both kind of dabble in all of it.
Yeah.
And we enjoy
I mean,
it.
it's fun. You kind of see a full view of the product, the manufacturing, the customer, the marketing, and that's how we're a small business as well, and that's always the fun thing about being part of a small business is you just have more insight into kind of the full operation.
Yeah, you kind of, and you take it in more before you kind of blurt out your opinion too, because you get to see all of that.
Yeah, more. Yeah, that's ideally right.
I'm like, careful, Adam, careful.
Do you guys have business backgrounds at all, or marketing, or sales?
Yep, I went to school for business.
Okay.
And then, I had a minor in HR, and
nice.
Not sad at all that I didn't pursue that after COVID.
Same.
Yeah, that was a delicate role the last couple of years.
Yeah, bless their souls.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I went to college for management and marketing.
Okay.
And then I had a year under my belt with a big corporate company in Minneapolis.
Okay. Nice.
I did sales for them and kind of leaned more towards coming back to the family business. So.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
Did you go to Concordia?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Cool.
When in doubt, go to Stout.
Hey, I had a lot of friends that went to Stout.
I loved it.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
Can you very, very gently and very nicely, since you're sitting next to each other, talk about what it's like working for a family business?
We already prepped ourselves for this question. I can start.
Go ahead.
It definitely has its challenges, but it also has its perks. I mean, obviously, Whitney and I are sisters. There's some, I wouldn't say tension, but I think we're lucky that she's at Agromatic, I'm at Davis.
Yeah.
Having a dad like we do, he kind of just says yes all the time. So we just
as
have
far
to,
as like ideas or like, yes, it must be this way, or yes, we're open to trying that, or
just
Yes for new business.
yeah.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
He
Take it
commits to customer requests and then says, "Here you go."
Yep.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Do you, Adam?
All right.
Kelsey will do it, or Whitney will do it. But I think the hardest thing is like having to prove ourselves.
Yeah.
Not because it's hard, but because people have that pre-assumed notion that this was handed to you.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm only 24 and I'm running a business.
Yep.
I feel like I've had to work that much harder to prove myself.
Yep.
And I have employees that are 50, 60,
Yeah.
and they're like, "You're my boss."
Yep.
And so
I've
I just
definitely
kinda-
been there as well.
It's a challenge in itself, but also like I love a challenge.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love working for the family business. And I think the one thing I take away from it every day is it's all personal. You know, you could go work for those big corporate companies and it doesn't matter what you spend on your company card. It doesn't matter what you send a PO out for. but a small family business, it's all personal.
I think it probably forces you to think a little bit more long term
Yeah.
as well, which is it seems like maybe younger people don't always do that. And it's not that you should think, I mean, it's still good to have goals in the short term as well, but it's like there's going to be good times, there's going to be bad times, there's going to be pandemics, there's going to be recessions, there's going to be all of this stuff. And it's like just making it through that, you're kind of thinking in decade chunks as opposed to 10-minute chunks. It's just like we're going to get through this regardless.
Right.
And I think that's a really important thing, regardless if it's a family business or anything. Because, I mean, there's just going to be weird timing of things that you can't control. And you just got to get through it, right?
Yeah. And, I mean, not all change is a good thing, but if there's change, you have to adapt to it.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think?
I'd say the same line as just earning your keep. Like, we don't at all act like anything was handed, but we do. We're grateful for it, and we're complete different roles here, so and complete different size of companies too. So it's a little hard to relate, but I'm just right now. My goal is to just kind of learn a little bit of everything. I love sales. I've always done sales out of school. And I think we both agree we're grateful that we came from bigger, large corporations, because we didn't just come fresh out of college like, oh, what do we do? We kind of came in with, oh, that's how you guys do it. Have you ever thought of this? And don't always listen to us, or but it's kind of like the same idea. You gotta wait. You keep saying it, and then eventually someone will be like, oh. Okay. Yep, that sticks. Yeah. Or someone else says it, and you just say, "I think I said that before."
Yep.
Yeah, that is interesting because you're, it's similar to manufacturing where some of the people that have been doing it for a while, they just don't like change. I remember like there's times where you'd have an argument about moving one tool from one bench to the other. Like it's to that point. It's like, really, like you're really going to be upset about this something this simple, but it's just, I think just like keep the head down and just keep going forward. And then eventually, like, once you're surrounded by, a group of people that embrace that and embrace the change. And then it's like, hey, if we make a mistake, you acknowledge it and you move on. Like, I think that is just, it's a cultural shift. And I think as maybe young people get into these industries, that's an important cultural shift, and we've seen it in manufacturing. I mean, the average age at Wisconsin Light Lab is 33 years old. That is unheard of in manufacturing, and I'm sure it's very similar in farming. So it's like eventually it's going to happen. It's just a matter of probably listening to people that have done it and adopting the good ideas, but also not being discouraged about people being set in their ways, and sometimes not listening to them. Just keep moving forward, right?
It just feels like, I don't know, the more conversations we have about Wisconsin culture and the economy and that business mindset, I feel like everything you guys just said, it's also similar to like the family farm thing. There's a line between implementing the new because you think it's what you should do, and then also like the pushback with the old school mentality. I think farming and manufacturing align really
very much so.
And it's really obvious when we're talking to you guys because you play in both, areas.
Well, a lot of people that, started in farming, they move into manufacturing, once they got off the family farm, and then eventually, maybe into an engineering role. And it's like, there is a progression that, you see people go. And it was interesting, like in this Iron Fist book. So like Carl Kiekhaefer and his dad, like basically came to blows when he was 18, and his dad was like, more or less, we started from nothing, and, he more or less tried to guilt him into, being the next generation in the family farm. And he finally said, I'm going to Milwaukee, which, Cedarburg to Milwaukee seemed like a big jump, but then he became an engineer, and obviously, Mercury Marine was started. But yeah, it's fascinating, the overlap on that. So, other dynamics of working with sisters and family.
I feel like when there's just frustrations with one another, I feel like you get over them quicker than if it's someone you're not related to.
Yep.
We have a lot more relatives at Agromatic than we do at Davis, but
So how big is each operation? So Agromatic is bigger than Davis is new.
Yeah, we only have 17 employees.
Okay.
And we usually average about 55,
Okay.
60.
Yep.
Right now we're pretty busy. So.
And what's the breakdown on like sales and marketing versus production, or like what type of roles are at those of the 60 people?
We have probably 15, 20 in the office.
Okay.
Not sales staff usually aren't in the office. They're usually all
Yep.
kind of all over. We got Iowa, New York, kind of, and we have 2 Wisconsin people that kind of go out west. And then we always have like a parts area. We have a showroom, and then our manufacturing shop is kind of where majority of the people are. And then we do have 2 warehouses, so we store all of our rubber up down the road. So
Nice.
that's
Mix
another
of
3 people that go up there. Yep.
Yeah, it's similar to here. We have just a variety of roles, production staff, engineering staff, sales staff, marketing staff, and sometimes within it's great. I mean, we love that setup, but sometimes we have that many different people and ways of doing things. It's sometimes challenging to get in sync.
Yep. And I mean, I started 5 years ago, and we had 1 engineer. Now
Yep.
we're at 3, possibly 4.
Really?
So that's really cool, because when our dad took over,
Yep.
he's the one that really changed Agromatic to be more into the manufacturing side of things.
That's great. Well, this area is it's so good for that, especially if you guys are doing steel fabrication, and there's the supply base in this area. I say you can throw a football and hit a machine shop in this area, so you guys have a great supply base for that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So on the engineering side, is it electrical focused? Is it mechanical focused, or what? Drafting, or what type of engineering roles?
More mechanical, and then with like the CAD drawing.
Yep.
So when these rubber flooring, people think, oh, rubber flooring, you just throw it down. No, there's a CAD guy that draws up a layout.
Yep.
And there's rules to how many mats can go together and all sorts of stuff that people are like, oh, wow.
Do you guys ever get into the like the chemical composition? Because I have no idea. I could be totally wrong, but like working with the FDA, and like, do you have to have like a certain grade of plastic because of milk process, anything like that, or is it more separate from?
We do
Nice.
not. The chemicals, more our dealers. They're usually the supplier of the chemicals that go out to the farm. But the rubber itself is recycled rubber, but we cannot resell it. So we can actually, when we cut out these rubber sizes, we have all this shredded rubber left over.
That's awesome.
You see that at playgrounds, but we cannot do that. We cannot resell that. You have
really?
to go through so many certificates and completions and this insurance and be liable. So we have a lot of shredded rubber laying around that we can't do anything with.
So then you don't resell it.
We do not. No.
Okay.
Nope.
Interesting.
We legally cannot.
Yeah.
But it comes to you and it's recycled, because that's cool.
Yeah. Our
Yeah.
mats are recycled that we initially.
Yeah, it's out of old tires, right?
Yep.
And like, I know you asked that question about following guidelines. One of our new customers actually is in the automotive industry, and we have to follow all of the automotive specs. And we had to kind of jump through hoops about ISO certified.
Yep.
And we're like, we're a company of 17. I mean, there's so many hoops that we have to jump through for that it's just not even worth it.
Yep.
And we kind of came to terms with that, but definitely something we'll have to do if we get any bigger. But
Yeah, the automotive and military and aerospace, and that's just you would have multiple people on staff just managing the compliance.
you get
side of
into
that.
a whole different problem with all that.
Yeah. But obviously it must work at some scale, for people.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've gone down that road, not necessarily ISO or anything like that, but we've definitely gone down avenues that you hit a point where it's like cost benefits. It's not always. It's good to look into it though, because now
Right.
for future opportunities.
Yeah, it makes the
Yeah.
business, the good business, more clear.
Yep.
It's like that customer profile or that project. Like, okay, that's a hell yes. Let's go after this. This other thing, it's like maybe it's a longer term business development opportunity, but we're not going to jump in with both feet.
Right.
So,
And as a small business, you really can't jump in
For
with
sure.
both feet.
yeah, you don't want to sacrifice your good customers or your
Right.
existing channels.
And that's kind of why, I mean, at Davis, we'll always have that equine background. We'll always have the horse boots and that stuff, which kind of goes off of the change thing.
Yep.
Because we have employees that have been there for 20 plus years, and all they've dealt with is horse boots or cow boots, or it's like we're trying to grow. You know, it's just I feel like the older mentality of I'm okay with where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And I can't sit still long enough to not grow.
I also.
We could have some interesting conversations.
Yeah, Adam's getting
Yeah,
really quiet all
bite
of
my
a
tongue,
sudden.
yeah.
It's like you're looking in a little bit of a mirror right now.
But then
little
you're
bit,
like,
yeah.
look at yourself. You're like, okay, Kelsey, like you can't bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow or maybe next
Yeah.
week, but let's settle down here.
What else do you guys want to talk about? Product pitches? Anything new? Any new products on the horizon?
We're going to be displaying it. We have World Dairy Expo coming up here.
Oh, nice. Is that in Madison?
Yep.
Okay.
Madison Alliant Energy Center. It's a once a year show, and
World
it's
Dairy Expo.
Yep. It's a pretty big show. There's a cattle show along with it.
Okay.
But yeah, this is all everyone in the industry. You want to be there. You want to display what's new. But we just a little sneak peek. We have a new. I don't know a lot about it, but what we manufacture the augers for it. We've always had auger feeders, manure augers. That's something we've always made. But it's actually the bedding will go through these augers, and these lights will heat it up to a certain degree that kills about 99% of the pathogens. So that's kind of the direction we see a lot of farms is, because you see sand and you have the rubber mattresses. But compost solids is the future for bedding for dairies, which we do on our rubber mattresses. So that's not putting us out of business or anything. But
So compost solids, is that something you guys can control, or the farmer can create and control?
Yep. They make that.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, we have a company here in Fond du Lac that does that. Separators. They're the ones that make the compost solids. But this, after it goes through that separator, it would go through this auger and get heated with these fancy lights.
Yeah, we were
that
talking
we need
about
to
that.
probably chat about.
Yeah, you should take some pictures and send some info back. But so Becca and I, when the pandemic first hit, we were talking about this. So when COVID first started, we weren't sure if we were going to get shut down or what the deal was, and we started to look at public RFPs for different types of things that we could make. It's like, okay, keep people safe, keep the operation going. If suddenly lighting is non-essential, what are we going to do? So we're looking at all these public RFPs, and we got word of a public RFP for like 20,000 UVC lights. So it's a certain type of LED chip with a certain radiation wavelength that humans can't see, but I think it like destroys protein structures or destroys something in bacteria and viruses and pathogens. So we pulled in even like a couple lobbyists. We pulled in a couple people that we knew in government. We were trying to find this RFP that we heard about. We started to prototype UVC lighting, and we had samples like air freighted in from South Korea from a company called Seoul Semiconductor, and we did build a prototype out for UVC, but we never went that route. There were so many. It was one of those things where when everybody thought they were going to get shut down, every lighting company on the planet suddenly started to get into this, and it just ended up not being as bad as we thought. The existing market, and we kind of focused on that. But I would imagine that's what this is their UVC LED chips. And as we were saying, most important in that case, if there's humans involved at all, is the control system and the safety aspect of it. You don't want people walking into a microwave. But, for sure, I would be very interested to know what companies are getting involved. And we have actually... It might be sitting over there, but we designed a board or a chip to drop right into our existing products. We may have a solution that we could talk about, but definitely report back. That's interesting.
Oh, we will.
There's lighting everywhere.
Local, of course.
Local,
The UVC thing. So I worked at ad agencies and marketing firms before I came to Will, and that was I worked at a little boutique agency down in the 3rd Ward in Milwaukee, and that was there. There's a company, I think it's out of Racine, perhaps.
Canal. Yeah, Canal lighting. They do healthcare lighting.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. It's like all this healthcare sanitation, and then with COVID, they're looking into how you can apply that to like a shop floor or like a general office space during off hours. So it's really cool to see how that technology continues to evolve and hit agriculture, and it's just
Yeah.
really growing. It's a really growing market, which is cool to see how people are using lighting differently.
And that was one of the things we learned is canal. So there's UVA, UVB, and UVC, and they're just different radiation wavelengths. And canal, they license a patent from a university in Europe for their UVB technology, and suddenly everybody was trying to use UVC. Not necessarily because it made the most sense for the application, is they're trying to get around Canal's patent.
Yep.
So it was like a world that we weren't quite used to, but now like healthcare applications.
Right.
I think the RFP that we were looking at was a huge, giant warehouse for like imported products that they're trying to blast with this this LED lighting. But like I have a air purifier. Like air purifiers now using UVC LED chips, where it's in combination with a carbon filter, and then they blast the air with UVC first. It kills the pathogens, and yeah, it's super interesting. Hay makes perfect sense, or not hay, compost, right?
Compost solids, yeah.
Well, cool. Yeah, definitely keep us in the loop on that, and yeah, it was really fun to talk. And good luck with the businesses, two businesses.
Yes, thank you.
Why have one when you can have two, right?
Adam, don't. we just
That's
went
true. We just did the opposite.
We just did the opposite. Don't look at
that's
it
true.
too closely.
We had 3 and then we combined them into one. It was trying to direct everybody's positive energy in the same direction is sometimes easier, but yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's cool to learn about, the interest in the sales, the marketing, the business development, the product. That's a very Wisconsin thing, multifaceted. So, but thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep doing your thing.